welcome back to Outside the Cinema, your weekly source for cult movie discussion. We are your hosts, Bill and Chris. Chris, it feels like it's been so long since we've been together to do one of these.
It has, and you know what? I haven't pooped since I last talked to you.
Me either. I did pee. I did pee, but I did not poop. Welcome back, everybody. We are doing... Oh, excuse me, man. My burp came out of nowhere. I was gross. I apologize. Doing a second week of some recent releases. We are doing Jordan Peele's Nope, and we are doing a film called OffSeason, which is a Shudder exclusive. So when we do these back-to-back shows and we record the same day, like, I'm totally thrown off because I'm like, I don't really have anything else to add because literally nothing has happened to me in my life since then.
Yeah.
Travis came home while we were recording the other show, and he's trying all his school clothes. And he's this is the first year, God bless him, the first year that he's like thinking about what he wants to wear. He's definitely always.
What grade is he in now?
He's going into 6th.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And every year for school, it's just been like, what do you want? And he's like, I want sweatpants and shorts, and I don't care about anything else. You should have a pair of jeans. Nah, I'm not going to wear them. Okay.
Jeans on kids that's a tough thing for me because the material just doesn't give enough.
Well, that's why
for being such a small piece of clothing.
Yeah, no, I've found. I shop at H&M a lot for myself and for Travis too, and they do they have a lot of good stretchy skinny jeans and stuff like that are really soft material that are almost like a sweatpant, but they look like a jean. So anyway, we went school shopping a few weeks ago. He needed a new pair of sneakers, and some new socks and all that stuff. And he's like, Dad, I really want a leather jacket. And I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah. He's like, first day of school. He's like, I want to wear a leather jacket, jeans. I said to him, I go, all right. I'm like, if you want to get a leather jacket, your jacket. I'm like, you can't wear sweatpants to school every day. I'm like, because that's not.
Yeah, that just looks weird.
That's not a look. That's not a look that anyone.
It is, but it's like
it's not the look you're
Michael
going for.
Ironsides. It's Michael Ironsides in a.
I was gonna say Sully on the corner at Dunks. That guy got busted for selling meth a couple times in his work with sweatpants and leather jacket. But so he's like, I want a leather jacket. I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'm like, that's cool. And he was like, yeah, I can wear jeans. He's like, and I want a beanie. So he comes home today and tries to close up a bunch of the stuff that came, because you would be shocked how hard it would be to find a leather jacket for an 11-year-old boy who is almost a size men's small, but not.
No, I've looked for clothes.
Oh yeah, you got
my kids are a little taller than they should be, and yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, and Travis is. I mean, you haven't seen Travis face to face for a little while now, but he's like 5'2".
Yeah, but he's like a reed, isn't he?
Right, he's 5'2" and he weighs 80 pounds.
So any pants you would buy him, I imagine the waist would fit, but they'd be like what are they called, culottes or capri pants?
Well, no, it's actually the waist is too big, and they're
for the
short.
length, right?
Yeah. The waist.
But if the waist fits him, the legs are too short.
Right.
That's what I was.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've been there.
So
I know that.
I can't buy him small men's pants because they just end up being too big. But then when I buy him regular kids pants, they're too small. So I have to find the right size of the ones that are still a kid's pant that have the adjustable waist where you can bring the waist in, but
oh, okay,
you would be shocked how hard they are to find. You would be shocked. But so he tries all the clothes on, and so that's why no one else obviously saw it, but because I actually haven't even been broadcasting the show the last few weeks, so there hasn't been video of the show for everybody else. When we were recording the last one, if you saw me looking, I was watching Travis because he walked by fully decked out. He had his black hoodie on with his black beanie and his leather jacket and his blue jeans, and he's standing outside and he's talking on his phone, and I'm like, who is this hipster that just rolled into my house? Who is this shitty teenager that's out here chatting away on the phone? He looks good though. He looks good. And I'm lucky. Travis is a good looking kid, so Anyway.
It's always a good thing.
I don't know where that was going. It wasn't really going anywhere. I don't know. I'm sharing a little bit too much, maybe. Jordan Peele's Nope is on this week. Now available to stream and download from a number of places online. It's not currently yet on any streaming services, but there's a number of different places like Amazon, Apple, all those places where you can rent a copy or purchase a digital copy of it. OffSeason, the second film that we are doing this week, is available exclusively on Shudder in the United States. Outside of that, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm sure you could probably track it down. It's the newest offering from Mickey Keating, who was the director of Pod, and a couple other movies that we'll get into momentarily. So before we get into the reviews this week, I will say that Joe is off this week because we recorded back-to-back and we only had the one segment from him. But Scott will have a segment at the end of the show, and strangely enough, he's going to be talking about in his segment what Joe is going to be talking about in his segment next week. Go figure. Just worked out. And if any of that sounds remotely interesting to you and you would like to be able to get it before everyone else, sign up for our Patreon. Patreon.com/Outside the Cinema. $5 or more monthly donation gets you access to our full show archive, which is thousands of episodes, hundreds and thousands of hours of content. More than you could ever want. Plus, when we do exclusive music shows, like we'll do our end of the year favorite album show, and we'll probably have some other stuff that'll go up there. They're exclusively available on the Patreon account. Can't get them anywhere else. The only place to get them. So, patreon.com/outside the cinema. There is that. I mean, I feel like we probably have to start with Nope, right?
We should.
We should. Okay, so Nope is based. So Jordan Peele is come on as one of the most interesting genre film directors in the last few years. He really hit the scene for genre stuff when he made Get Out. Prior to that, he was best known as one half of Key and Peele.
Yeah,
the utterly brilliant Comedy Central sketch series. It's great. It's awesome. It's awesome. And then Jordan Peele decided that he essentially was going to quit acting because he doesn't really act anymore, and just go into being a director and a writer. He made Get Out.
Yeah, he does voice work.
Yeah.
I know he does voices on Bob's Burgers. So he does that when it's. I imagine when he's like, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, yeah. And
so he's not a working actor anymore.
Because he's the producer behind the new version of The Twilight Zone, so he does the Rod Serling part in.
Is that still going?
Well, they've done 2 seasons. I watched half the first season. I wasn't really impressed. It was a little. The episodes that I watched were. How do I want to put this? More confusing than they needed to be.
Okay.
And the storytelling wasn't really clear. And I think that was what was one of the bright spots of the original Twilight Zone is the simplicity in the storytelling never really. It would have you questioning things, but you were never really confused. And if you were confused, it was done by design. And at the end of it, everything was cleared up for you. This not so much. I only watched some of it. I haven't watched all of it, but
I think I watched one episode of that. Let me just. It must be in season 1. I saw there was one with Joel McHale, and I'm like, that's a weird choice to be in a.
I did not.
I saw they redid Nightmare at 30,000 feet.
Completely different, though. Inspired by, and that's got Adam Scott in it, and that was the one that I was just like, what the fuck is happening?
Okay. I'm trying to find this stupid thing. No, what was it? This is killing me.
Well, you look it up.
It was called 8, the number 8. A team of scientists discovers a new, highly intelligent species that may endanger more than their research. So it's kind of like the setting of The Thing, with the isolation, but a different story. So
I did not watch that. So all right, well,
you know what? I'll probably go back and give these a shot. Why not?
I'm going to finish them. So, all right. Well, here's the trailer for Nope. Take heed.
Good luck.
What if I told you that today you'll leave here different?
Pops! Pops!
I'm talking to you.
Bro, what you see?
Something above the clouds. That's big.
How big?
Big.
You think whatever killed Pops is out there.
Right here, you are gonna witness an absolute spectacle. So what happens next? Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready? Here we go.
No. This could be an opportunity. I'm talking rich and famous for life.
There's plenty of videos for flying shit online.
Ain't nobody gonna get what we gonna get.
What we gonna get?
The money shot.
What's up?
Undeniable proof of aliens on camera. The Oprah shot.
You guys gonna tell me what's going on?
Hell no. There's something out here, and you're the only person in the world that can get it on film.
That cloud ain't moved an inch.
It's aliens. They're just waiting for the perfect time to shove metal probes up our asses.
I'll be rooting for you.
I think we pissed them off.
Yeah, they repainted your house.
They're gonna come back. You ready? We got some work to do.
Not it.
Nope.
I'll get him out.
And I'll get the shot.
Let's go, baby! Let's go!
I need you to tell me, what did you see in that cloud?
Well, it's not what you think. They took him. They took him all.
I gotta get out this house. I'm trying to save you. My brother is out there.
I don't think they take you. If you don't look at it.
Look, don't look, don't look.
This dream you're chasing, where you end up at the top of the mountain. It's the one you never wake up from.
You'll be getting a call from my supervisor asking how my service was.
5 stars, Angel, 5 stars.
All righty, there it is. That's a pretty fucking crazy trailer, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really well thought out because it leads you in like 7 different directions at the same time.
It really does, man. Written and directed by Jordan Peele, starring Daniel. How do you say Daniel's last name?
Kaluuya, I believe.
Kiki Palmer.
Let me just look at it to make sure.
Kiki Palmer, Brandon Pera, Michael Wincott, Stephen Yoon, Keith David also shows up. So the simple story of Nope, and again, this is going to be a spoiler-filled review of this. I'm putting that warning out, even though we always tell you anyway. But yes, I think Chris and I are going to want to probably discuss some of our theories about some things in here, and
we have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to. Yeah. You can't say, "Oh, hey, this movie is good." Go see it.
So unlike, it's not like a Shyamalan twist or anything like that, but there's definitely some stuff in this that I think is going to be better experienced without a lot of knowledge of it. We said it last week with Lamb. I don't think this one you need to go in quite as ignorant as maybe something like that, but I think the less you know is probably going to be the better. I did my best with keeping myself pretty ignorant to what the film was. All I kind of got was I think it's aliens.
Right. I stayed totally away from anything but the trailer.
Yeah. Same here.
And it isn't a like you said, it's not a Shyamalan twist, but it is a pretty sizable reveal. It's information given out in drops here and there, and then you finally get a full glass, and you're like, oh shit.
And there's a lot of theories.
To me,
that's
what it was.
That can go into this too. So, at this point on, full spoilers. If you ruin it, you did it to yourself. You had a chance to stop. So, and I feel like that's fine now that it's available on digital, and if you want to watch it, you can. So, all right. So it's the story of OJ and Emerald Haywood. the brother and sister, their father is played by Keith David. He owns and runs a Hollywood horse farm where they are hired to bring animals into, specifically horses, into Hollywood productions. They talk about how they were on Westerns and a whole number of things.
The first filmed person.
Yeah,
on
which
the horse.
is a true story in terms of that being the film that was the first film ever created. Which was 10 frames of a horse running?
Yeah, and they say that it could be one of two people, or it could be two people that were filmed to do it. There's a lot of debate on who the first one was, and I don't mind them, in this
repurposing
saying,
the story,
it was this.
Yeah,
yeah,
because in the story in the
that
film,
works.
they say that it was their great-great-great-grandfather.
Right.
In truth, that is the first thing ever put to film, but no one knows who the rider was. Everyone knows who the filmmaker was, but nobody actually knows who the black man riding the horse was. There's theories, as you said, but it's not really. But they use that, and they use the story in this, and it works perfectly. So things start off with some interesting footage of going into a TV studio where...
Yeah. Doesn't this one start off with just voiceover, just audio over the black, or was that off-season? This one you get all of the audio over all the opening titles, right?
I'm trying to think.
And then it switches.
Yeah, there's some talking, and you can tell it's like a studio or like some voiceover stuff. And then we're brought into a TV studio where something very bad has happened. We don't necessarily are given all the parts, but it's definitely alluded to that an animal on set went crazy.
No, we definitely get the chimp.
Yeah, because we see the chimpanzee.
It was so scary because its arms up to the elbows are covered in blood. It's wearing human clothes. It's on a living room sitcom set, but the stands are empty. The applause lights are flashing. So the chimp settles down, hits a foot of what you can tell by the way they're dressed is of a teenage girl. And there's one shoe standing upright on its heel, which is very strange. But then the chimp gets upset that the person's not responding and just turns and looks at the camera. And that chimp was horrifying.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Nope. Nope, get away from the chimp. And then they don't come back to that for a while.
Yeah, it's a little while before.
And I
we get
like
back
that. I like that.
Yeah. So then we meet OJ Hayward and his dad. They're on the horse farm working with the horses. We don't really know what's going on, but we hear some screaming, and then we see and hear what sounds like things falling from the sky. And they're both kind of just looking. OJ's close to the house. The dad's still riding the horse, is still on the horse in the little arena.
Keith David, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
very
we
nice.
hear whoosh, whoosh, and then we hear thump.
Yeah.
And he turns to his father and he's like, "Dad, you all right?" And he doesn't say anything.
Yeah, because it looks like just scattered hail,
Right.
the way it's hitting the dirt and stuff. Yeah.
We find out it was a coin that was thrown down and wedged into his eye socket when he was looking up, and did him in. So
and then you see other stuff. There's a key,
sticking out of the
stuck
backside
in
of the horse.
No, that was when he was on the horse, right?
No, that was at the beginning.
There was another key stuck in a railing outside the house.
Yes, but that was
so
later
you
on.
see that it's a bunch of almost like somebody went out with a metal detector, and it's like the stuff they found just fell, and they say that it fell out of an airplane or something at some point.
The government says an airplane.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of interesting things in this, and we're going to do our best to do this justice, but there is definitely a lot of little things in this that we very well may miss. So we fast forward 6 months. OJ's on set now doing the job that his father was doing. You can tell that he's not okay with it. We gather that he probably wasn't the guy that worked on set with the animals because he's kind of soft-spoken, and every time something happens, he doesn't really have the like gusto to be like, hey.
Oh, yeah, he's the trainer, 100%. He's not the people person.
Right. So the sister shows up, who we know is kind of, we're led to believe she's kind of flighty because there's a thing at the beginning where they say, oh, where's your sister? And he's like, I don't know. She's supposed to be here. I don't know where she is. So she eventually shows up and she does her whole spiel about the safety. And, oh, by the way, and another nice, interesting little thing is, she's like, oh, I also act on the side and I sing and I dance and I ride motorcycles. That comes into play later.
Yep.
So if anyone's looking for anything, I also make a mean grilled cheese sandwich and like, so she's kind of like a shyster or what, but
yeah, she'll take any job, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Nope, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But it bothers OJ because he's like, hey, listen, he's like, stop pumping your shit up when we're supposed to be working on
yes,
whatever.
that is fair.
Yeah.
That's
Very
100%
much so.
fair.
So either way, the people, and this is also interesting too, because like it plays into the idea of like Hollywood, chewing up and spitting out people and talent and stuff. Which is one of the overarching things in this film, I think. Because OJ's trying to tell these people, hey, you can't do this around the horse, you can't do that, and they're not listening.
No, they don't give a shit.
He's not necessarily really being loud about and like being like, hey, stop doing this. But he's like,
no, he was thrust into that position. He never aspired to be in it. So he's not good at it.
Right. So somebody
and also he's also just trying to recover from his father's mysterious death.
Right. So somebody does something, a flash goes off, the horse gets freaked out and kicks somebody.
It was this is important. It was the ball.
Yes.
The matte gray side and the reflective side for camera tests, right?
Probably
lighting tests.
For lighting.
Yeah. So that's what does it. And you get a nice the ring shot of the horse's eye. And it's good because he actually takes that and teaches the horses to not respond to that. And they do act like he does his job. He's good at his job, but he's not assertive enough with everybody to be able to truly do his job effectively. But he's learning, and I think that's important because he's not an asshole. He's not half-assing it.
Nope.
He was not ready to be put in this position, but he's gonna do it because of the legacy. So I can get behind that
for sure. I agree with that also. So they get fired from the job either way, and they go back to the house
for a CG horse.
For a CG horse, yep. For a CG horse.
Yeah.
See, I'm not even sure where to go.
Well, then he immediately drives Lucky to sell him to Glenn from The Walking Dead.
Yep. Who was also in he was in that Joe Lynch movie too. The hell was that?
Oh, Mayhem.
Mayhem. He was really good at Mayhem.
With what's her face? I really like her. I can't think of her name.
Samara Weaving. No.
Yeah, Samara Weaving.
Samara Weaving?
Yeah.
It is.
Samara, yeah. Yeah. I think related to Hugo Weaving, if I'm not mistaken. She's great.
My Mel's burning something in the kitchen. You hear the fire alarm?
Maybe it's Alaska and it's baked.
Hang on. I'm going to shut the door. Hold on. Keep talking about they sell the horse and what happens.
My house is on fire. I'm just going to shut this door. It'll be all right. So he goes and sits down with Glenn, whose name in the movie I will look up while I'm doing this. And he talks about selling the horse, and he's going to get $11,500 for it. And you could tell through the conversation that he's had to sell a bunch of his horses just to keep the ranch going. And it's one of those things where how can you keep your business going if you're selling off the product your business is based around? The sister tries to get in on it, and she starts talking, and I'm getting to his name. Come on. Ricky Jupe park because it's Jupiter's butt crack or something where they are. I forget what it's called. Jupiter's Ridge, Jupiter's Plot. That's something to do with mining. I think Bill just left the whole show.
No, I'm right here.
So, oh, you are? All right. I was looking stuff up. So at that point, the sister starts talking about the show with the chimpanzee.
Finally bringing it back. It takes like 25 minutes to get back to it.
Yeah. And it actually, to me, it actually felt like longer. But I think it worked the way it shows what happened to him, because he is Ricky is the sole survivor of the Gordy massacre on set. And basically what happened is, did the balloon pop? Is that what it was? There were balloons,
I think
for
it's
Gordy's birthday.
Yeah, it's the episode was Gordy's birthday, and they were giving him gifts, because we then later on in the film they actually show you everything. But there's balloon. They open this big box, and all these balloons come out. One of the balloons pops, and in the words of Stephen Yeun's character, Gordy had enough.
Yeah. And I can imagine working with a chimp like that, you would get. You always have to be on guard with animals on set, because you never know what's going to. But these people in the cast, we're led to believe, got comfortable, and clearly the trainer just fucked up, because they should have recognized or known, yeah, he's not good around loud noises or whatever.
Right.
And the ape just loses his mind and does what an ape does and kills and eats people's faces.
Yep.
He doesn't kill their faces. He kills them and eats their faces.
Or just severely maims them.
Yes, because we find out that the girl who we thought was dead, that he was tapping her shoe, she must have still been breathing, which is why he was hitting her foot, because he viciously beat on her chest. And you hear and see just the way his body moves and the way he's angled that he is chomping on her face.
Yep. But we see this point where, as you mentioned earlier, there's this one of her shoes is just standing on its end. Just standing. Not being held by anything, just standing.
It's like, I imagine it's one of those, like, in this tragedy, something unexpected happened, which is, I think, is kind of what this whole movie is about. There's the shoe standing on its end is like flipping a quarter, and it lands on its edge, and then it's just standing upright. It's like a freak occurrence, and that's what little Ricky was focused on. And he has the shoe in a case standing upright the same way, because that's how he's dealing with it. Yep.
And as we've seen in Jordan Peele's other films that he's directed and written, like, it doesn't seem like something, but it ends up being something, but it's only something if you want it to be something. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like in like Shyamalan stuff, there's like a one little weird thing that ends up being like the linchpin of a whole movie. This is just an added thing that, like, if you want to bring that into the canon of the movie, it helps. It can help tell another part of a story. Because
I'm thinking that the shoe standing up is what he was looking at.
Me too. Which is what saved him, because he wasn't looking into the eyes of the chimpanzee, which will bring us to the next point, because we haven't actually gotten that far yet.
Right.
So, there's a point where one of the horses gets out, and
Ghost,
and OJ goes out to try to wrangle it in, and it just takes off on him. Yeah. And then the power will go out randomly, and everything will just stop, and he looks into the sky and he sees something in the sky, which we don't get a real close look at it, but we get enough to see, like, that looks like what a fucking flying saucer we all know is a flying saucer.
Yep. Yep, classic saucer shape.
Classic UFO.
Yep.
Classic Leonard Nimoy in search of or Robert Stack Unsolved Mysteries flying saucer.
Yep, but what they didn't know is that Bigfoot was on that UFO.
That Bigfoot, yeah. I mean, he's on all the UFOs.
Yes. So
he gets freaked out by it, obviously. He tells the sister. The sister's like, what's going on, man? Like, what's up with you? Like, and he's like, you could tell at first he doesn't want to tell her.
Because it's crazy.
Because it's crazy. It's crazy. But then he starts to think about it a little bit more, and she kind of wears him down, and he's like, listen, I don't know what I saw, but I definitely saw something in the sky, and it looked like a flying saucer. And she was like, real. And to her benefit, or, to like help build her character, because she's the best character in the movie, she believes him.
Well, because if he's honest his whole life, why would she doubt him?
Right. And he talks about how, like, I wonder if it had something to do with how Dad died. And then she starts to think about it. And then she's like, well, we need to get this thing on film. This is how we're going to make the money. This is how we're going to save the farm. This is how we're going to be okay.
Yep.
We're going to get
you hear it in the trailer when she's just talking about getting that money shot.
Yeah. And I love that they go to the Fry's in I think San Bernardino, which is the one that has the flying saucer that's crashed into the front of it.
Yeah.
Fry's going out of business kind of bummed me out. We didn't have any of them here. But when we were making Survival of the Film Freaks, we made a number of runs to Fry's, in the one in L.A. I think it was in L.A. But specifically also to the one, or it was in Pasadena, I think. And then we also made a number of runs to the one in Las Vegas when we were filming in Las Vegas. And like, Chris, when I tell you, did you ever get a chance to go into a Fry's?
I think I went in the one in Vegas, I want to say.
Maybe. I mean, it's huge. It was huge.
They are the size of two, like, Costco's put together.
Yeah. Enormous.
They're immense, yeah.
And I remember we went in and I was like, this is like heaven. Anything is like a technology type person, cameras, lenses, videos, video games, cars.
It's way better than Best Buy.
Way better, because they had everything. Like if there was a specific lens you were looking for, or a specific camera, or a specific battery, or like cables, or whatever, they had everything.
Like this little battery I have right here. It goes to rechargeable headphones. I'm sure Fry's would have had the battery in stock.
Yeah.
Nowhere around here does.
No, you can't buy anything in the store anymore. And they like that, and that's whatever. Anyway, so we went. We went there a couple times, and I loved it. I was in heaven. And then we had to go back there a couple years later, and it was like a fucking shell of what it was just like 2 years prior. And it was a real bummer. There was like entire aisles that were literally just empty. The aisles were there was just nothing in them. And now they're all. I mean, the pandemic did them in. They were in trouble already.
Yeah, they're all done.
The pandemic did them in. But anyway, so they go to Fry's. They buy all this surveillance and video camera equipment, and they meet up with Angel, the guy that works at Fry's, and he's basically like, "So you guys need somebody to install this stuff?" And they're like, "No, we're good." And he's like, "Yeah, you're not going to be able to install this."
Yeah, and you think at first that he's just being a dick about it, but I'm pretty sure they took the $11,500 from selling off Lucky and bought all of the equipment.
Yeah.
If you're going to buy even just, $5,000 worth of surveillance equipment and have it backed up off site, you're going to need some help if you've never done it before.
So he comes in and helps them out. And they start to realize that things are weird. They're getting ready to take the videos and stuff. And they don't get anything at first. And then that first night, it comes back again. They steal a fake horse from Stephen Yoon's place,
Jupiter's Ridge,
Jupiter's Ridge, and they steal.
That's what it is, Ridge.
They steal the fake horse, and this thing comes in to take the fake horse, and it doesn't like it. But one of the cameras goes out. The other one has a bug on the lens.
Yeah.
So they don't get anything.
What's really interesting to me about that is that the fact that the specific bug that was used actually alludes to aliens because of Whitley Strieber's was that his name? Communion.
Oh yeah,
had praying mantis looking aliens in it, didn't it?
Yep.
So there's a little hint there that it's aliens. Ha ha ha! An alien is helping the aliens. But it doesn't. I mean, you can think that it doesn't specifically say that, but
Right.
you can infer it.
So they don't get any good video. The guy from Fry's is watching it at Fry's.
Illegally.
But he was curious because they wouldn't give him any information. So, needless
I
to
get
say,
it, but I understand it.
Yeah. He shows up the next day, and they're like, we didn't get it, and he's like, yeah, but are you guys seeing this? He's like, I need to see that this is real, and they're like, what are you talking about? And he looks at the videos, and then he goes outside, and he's like, watch these videos and tell me when you see it. And there's one specific cloud that doesn't move. The cloud just... I thought this was fucking brilliant. The cloud just doesn't move.
Yeah.
All the other clouds move around.
It's in a place where, in relation to the house, it's in a place where you wouldn't not mention it, but you wouldn't notice it.
No,
unless
you're
you
looking
really
for it.
were looking for it. Yeah.
So they realize that this thing is hiding in the clouds, or it's creating a cloud, or it's making itself look like a cloud, or we don't know.
Yeah.
And then we kind of get to learn a little bit more about kind of what's going on. You want to kind of explain that part?
Yeah, let me think. So we do the whole, and then, so.
Well, first they go to Stephen Yoon's place because he's having.
It's all kind of getting jumbled up in my head now because I want to skip right to the end.
Well, no, don't
okay,
skip to
so
the
they
end because the thing at Jupiter's Bridge is huge.
Is this when they go back for the stage show? They watch the quote unquote rodeo arena show.
OJ
right?
goes there. The other two stay at the house.
Yeah. Oh, because he sends the kids to the stable to fuck with him dressed as owl-looking aliens. So they steal the horse, and he's like, yeah, they have my horse. That's fine. I'll get him back. It's a prank. He doesn't seem to be mad at them.
No, he really doesn't.
They do really seem to be friends. So he sends these kids down to just kind of fuck with them. And I can appreciate that. So then he goes and then he sees the kids. One of the kids' heads gets knocked off the costume and all that. So he knows what's going on, and it's a nice fake out for the audience because you think, okay, good. The aliens are upping their game. So now we're going to get a little bit of interaction on the ground, Close Encounters or Signs style. And you don't. The movie is still giving you nothing, which is awesome. I really love that because it's just leading you in directions. And this movie really, that's all it does. It just leads you around until it tells you. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
That's great. So they go. OJ goes to the show to see what's going on with the horses, and basically just to see it. Didn't he go to talk to him? Why did he go there? He gets invited.
He invites
gets invited to it. Yeah,
and then I think he knows that there's something connected there, so he goes. He's going to go to it to see what goes on, but he gets there too late.
What I really enjoyed was the fact that he finds the flyer in a pile of cow manure.
Yeah.
Which, as a viewer, leads you to believe that whatever show he's putting on is
I'm
just
assuming
horse
it's horse shit. I'm assuming it's horse shit, not cow manure.
Oh, yeah. What the fuck am I talking about?
I don't know.
So it's the whole thing of whatever he's got going on there. You think it's just going to be horse shit because that's how it's introduced. And so he goes out and he gives this big speech about you haven't seen anything. This is amazing. Your life will be changed. And then he unveils Lucky in the stable, and it gets weird from there.
Right. Now this ties back into when he goes to sell the horses to him, and he talks about, hey, I'd like to have somewhat of a plan in place to buy these back from you. when we get on our feet. And Stephen Yeun kind of gives him this weird look. And at the time, you don't think anything of it. You just think he's just a shyster. He's not going to want to sell these horses back to him. But
I took it as he doesn't think he's ever going to be able to do it. Like, you keep saying that.
At the time, I was just like, well, it doesn't matter. He doesn't want to sell them back or whatever. But then you come to realize, as Stephen Yeun explains what's going on, he's feeding the horses to this UFO.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's why he gave him that weird look and was just kind of like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll sell them back to you, knowing that he's probably not going to have them. Because then also at the same time, I was like, why does this guy need so many horses?
Well, I figured it was because he was running some kind of Wild West amusement park. So you would need horses for, I don't know, costume characters to come around.
So he sold them 10, and then he's like, how many more can I get? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was a lot of horses.
That's true. And then there's still the other part of the plan where he's like, like the deal your father and I had, I will buy the ranch and everything in it. So that's his end, I think, is to own that. And then you find out why.
Yeah.
So basically he talks a little bit about the show he used to be on and introduces the woman who was the little girl, the teenage girl on the set. And that is the woman with the freaky face you see in the trailer. Because her face has been chimped.
Yep. The trailer misdirects you so hard in that too.
I love it. That was really smart. Because it's such an inconsequential thing, but it's so memorable from the trailer. And then the movie kicks into the third act and we get reveals.
Yeah, and the reveal for this is, I'm going to be honest, I didn't see it coming. So, last chance. Now we're into full spoilers here. So, the idea that this UFO, this flying saucer, is going around and kidnapping people or whatever, we see that, for face value, because we haven't really been given anything else. We've been given some kind of abstracty stuff with like some things maybe up inside it, but nothing in particular. So, as OJ's on his way there, Ricky Park is already like full into the show, and he's like, this thing is this unidentified flying object has been showing up at the same time every week here. It takes one of our horses. He doesn't say like we feed it to it. He's like and the horses want to go to it. So we're gonna do it here, and it's gonna change. It's gonna change everything.
Yeah.
So the horse doesn't go when he wants the horse to go.
Right.
And now this thing is coming out through the clouds, and people are like, "Oh shit! Like this is for real." And everybody and obviously everyone starts looking at it. Everyone starts filming it with their phones, and he's trying to get the horse to go, and then the horse doesn't go. So this thing just comes in, and it takes everybody.
Yeah,
like it sucks them up. Creates these like these mini tornado things that come down and sucks everybody up from the ground.
Which I thought was an amazingly realistic way to abduct people.
Absolutely.
Really smart.
Absolutely. But this time, we're shown more. Oh, it's not just like something getting sucked up into it. We see what's happening to these people as they are sucked into it.
Yeah, we're full on fire in the sky, soft tissue kind of technology kind of stuff at this point. And it's kind of gross.
Only the big fucking reveal is this isn't some spaceship.
No.
This is a giant ass fucking alien monster.
Is it alien?
Well, it's something.
I don't know.
It's alien to me.
It's a fucking silver stingray that flies through the air.
Can change its shape, can kind of change its form, it can hide itself. Like, it's ridiculous.
It's intelligent. Yeah. It's intelligent, definitely. How much, I don't know.
Well, as we learned, it doesn't know how to chew its food, so...
Well, it doesn't have to, right? It must just digest it. Like, maybe it's like an owl. Like, it eats its food and spits out the bones. But in this case, bones are metal or a fake horse that, gives it a bum tum. And then you gotta kick it out of your body, right? But the horse is actually taken with the rope with the flags on it that you see in basically all the trailers and all the posters. It's that flag, and the flag line plays an important part later because everything fucking comes together finally. The chimp story kind of does, because don't look at it. It is almost Treehouse of Horror. Just don't look. Because if you scare if you look an ape directly in the eye, it's a threat and it'll attack you, possibly, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's happening here. Even though you can't see any eyes on this thing, doesn't matter. Xenomorph doesn't have eyes. We don't complain about that. So it knows you're looking at it, and that's why it comes for you. And it's interesting how it looks like it's made out of shark skin and metal at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very reminiscent of like the T-1000 in a way, where it kind of like morphs its shape and like reforms itself. And
yeah,
it's really interesting. It's one of the most interesting character and creature designs I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm gonna say that if this thing existed in real life, I could see that people would think it was an angel when it changes its shape, or some kind of god or demon or something, because it could be both, you know?
Right. So as this happens, it takes out all the people at the Jupiter Ranch, and basically feeds itself. So OJ shows up just after this has happened. It's still there. So he gets there, he sees the horse, he wants to get the horse because the horse is all right, and he seems very like caring about the animals. Like that's his thing, is like he cares about the animals.
Yes.
He's bummed about having to sell them, but he feels like the Jupe is probably taking care of them. But now he's like, I can't just leave this horse here.
He was to the point where the thing showed up. He was taking care of the animals.
Taking really good care of him, yeah. So he tries to get the horse out of there. Meanwhile, this thing is trying to get him, and he starts to look around, and he starts to kind of realize as he's watching it and seeing it and how it reacts, like he realized, okay, this is some sort of animal. This is a sentient being. It's not like it's not a spaceship.
Right.
It's not a spaceship. So he gets the horse in the thing, and he's trying to get out of there, and now the thing starts chasing him, and there's a big storm moving in, and it is what is probably the most tense part of this movie is this whole like 15 to 20 minute thing of like the cat and mouse, and then it like coming over the house and spilling all the blood down on the house.
Oh yeah.
All of the like,
and that was I think just pure intimidation from the creature.
100%. It was just there being like, well, I can't get you inside the house, so I'm just going to lay all this shit on you.
And this movie also does an amazing job of terrifying you, but with the absence of something.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Because it's pouring, and all of a sudden it's not raining on the truck that he's in.
Right.
But you can see the rain.
Yes. Yeah, and it looks great.
It's sitting over top of him. And it's not going to take the truck, just like it didn't take Lucky out of the pen it was in, because it can't digest it. So now it's all starting to come together. It has to get the horses out in the wild.
Yep. Or the people, or whoever.
Yep.
Or whatever. Like whatever it's
Which
going
could play into the whole, this is how many people disappear at Yosemite every year and they're never found, or people disappear over here in large groups over the course of 100 years and we have no idea why. And I did read that he said that he wants to go back into this world because there's still stories to tell.
Right.
In this world.
It also plays into the, like, when those people go missing, like, you'll find things like you'll find their keys.
Yeah.
Or you'll find, like, their wallet.
Nowhere near where they were taken, too.
Right.
Yeah.
And I saw also that it's kind of loosely inspired by the Skinwalker Ranch stuff a little bit, too.
Okay.
But it's really interesting, and it's presented in a pretty interesting way they give it to you. So without going through point by point, like they realize now we need to make sure that we get this on film now that we kind of know. And OJ explains, he's like, hey, listen, it's not a spaceship, it's a beast. And I think that's kind of one of the things that is the ongoing backbone of this movie, is trying to tame the beast and how to handle the beast.
Controlling nature really is what it comes down to. Yeah.
And it also ties into that, as I said earlier, with the Hollywood chewing you up and spitting you back out. Like, I think that's a big part of this too.
Those people did not give a shit about the two of them. We're on a schedule, and fuck you. Get the green CG horse.
Yep. So they devise a plan to get this thing on film. They bring in the cinematographer that was there earlier on, Richard Wincott, who's, I think, one of the most underrated character actors out there. I mean, he's just fucking great.
His voice alone. I don't know why he doesn't do voice work. Huh?
I think he does. It's Michael, not Richard. I don't know why I said Richard.
Oh, yeah.
So he's got. So they explain to him, they're like, you need to have a camera that's not electrical, because this thing will kill all the batteries. It has an electromagnetic field around it. Like, understand that, like, and he comes in with this hand cranked IMAX hand built camera that he's got,
that he built himself, and I'm like, this was made by a guy that has really paid attention to how everything he's done is made, because he knows this stuff. And I love that.
Also, like, all the little nods to, like, cameras and how cameras work, and like all the different types of cameras that are shown, and then even the faces of the aliens on when they're like faking the aliens, they look like reel to reels. Like, they look like the film canister. They're like almost is like the shape of an 8. Okay, which is another little thing that I caught on. I was like, wow, I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous. Like,
yeah.
So without again not splitting hairs and going all the way through, like they try to institute their plan. Things don't necessarily go the way they want them to, and they knew, they're like, there's a chance this isn't going to go, because we don't know how to control this thing. All we know is, like, don't fucking look at it.
Yes, but he hasn't told everybody that yet, right?
No, I think he does. He does.
Okay.
As they're like setting up all the sky, the wacky inflatable arm flailing mans. They were using the dancing people
to show where the power outages were,
right?
Because up to that point, it was just lights from what I'm imagining is what's it called? High tension electrical towers.
Yeah.
And the lights are on them because they're on top of a ridge, and you don't want little tiny airplanes crashing into them and shit.
Right. So they get this whole thing set up. They're getting ready to do their plan. The thing starts to show up, and in what seems like a really weird thing, but inherently actually has one of the most important little lines. If you're not paying attention, it doesn't hit. But like, so they're getting this thing ready, and a dude rolls up on an electric motorcycle, who rolls up there, and she comes out, and she's like, hey, you need to get out of here. What do you do? And he's like, oh, yeah. So what's going on? And they're like, you need to leave. We're doing some camera tests. And he's like, oh, really? So what do you guys know about that Jupiter Ranch, about what happened over there? And he busts out 2 cameras, and they're like, oh, fuck, it's TMZ. And I love that they actually used the TMZ. Like, they didn't and he's like, oh, so like, what's going on? And blah, 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 blah. And they're like, listen, you need to get out of here. And he's like, how? And I honestly believe the single most important line that opens up all of these questions in this film, he spouts out, how come when I go on Google Maps, the satellite image over here is blurred?
Yeah.
And you're like, if you're not paying attention, that line doesn't hit anything. But if you've been kind of following along and like wondering why nobody else is talking about this or why nobody else has seen it, and he's like, the satellite images above this land is blurred out. And you're like, oh, there is way more to this fucking story than we're being given.
Yeah. It's like the end of Troll Hunter, where they're like, you think these high tension wires are for power? No, it's a fucking fence. And that was brilliant. And so is this. That means there are so many more people involved in this that are okay with people getting eaten. And it's got to be on a government level, because not many people can tell Google what to do.
Well, also, I mean, it's got to be on a government level because when the big thing happens at the Jupiter Gulch, you overhear the news story, and they're like, "Oh, it was a flood."
Yeah.
It was just a flood, and that's it. There's no explanation. There's like it's just a flood, and like that. Well, yeah,
because
that's a government
nobody cares,
right?
Outside of the people it happened to. Yeah,
right. And it's like so like the government cover up thing comes in, and you're like, okay, and like there's more to this for sure, and I think that makes it inherently more interesting. And
it adds a whole nother layer of, oh shit, these people are fucked.
And the funny thing is too, like I've seen a lot of really bad reviews for this, which I think is coming from those people that aren't necessarily looking at all those little things. Because for me, what made this movie so enjoyable was all of those little things, and then going and looking deeper into it afterwards.
Yeah,
and it made everything so much more interesting.
Yeah. I mean, he took the UFO mythology and thought about it in a way that I hadn't really seen anybody consider before. And he basically rewrote it to make it make sense in a way. And it was just, there've been recently 2 times where I've been surprised by a movie.
Okay.
The first one was Wreck-It Ralph. Because I didn't see the reveal of the villain at all coming. Because I was just watching a movie. I wasn't trying to figure shit out at all. I'm like, this is a movie about a video game character. How deep could it be? And then they give you, the reveal of the bad guy. I'm like, oh shit, that's pretty clever. All right, good for you. And then this one where it's like, oh, it's not an artificial device flying around. Because owls fly silently. Why can't this? And it was just such a brilliant idea. I love that. He's a product of the movies we grew up watching.
For sure.
And his movies take what we've all grown up with and throws this new level onto all 3 of them so far. Have this part that's like you think you know what's happening, and then it's just a little bit different, and it's like that's a really good idea. That's really smart.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with what he's been doing.
Yeah, I am too. And in watching this through and kind of being like a little bit on the fence with it until I started to see the more like minute details that he brought into it, it puts it onto another level. Some of that stuff shows up in Us and Get Out. Those are 2 very different types of films in this, though. But like you can see the like little bit of like, well, I'm going to try this just a little bit, and then I'm going to try this. And in this one, he tries a lot more things because the runtime is also significantly longer. This is about 2 hours and 10 minutes long.
Okay.
Then if I remember, Get Out was was under 2 hours, 150, and I feel like Us was only like maybe like an hour and a half.
Yeah, I can see the story of Us being that length. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I enjoyed Us, and Get Out was, I think I'm looking back on it now more fondly than when I originally had watched it, and I think it's a better film than I originally had given it credit for. But the attention to detail in this is really what sets it apart from what I think a lot of people think that it is when they're watching it. Because if you go on IMDb, there is a lot of really bad reviews for this. And now
but why? I don't get that.
Because people are missing miss the little details and miss the point of it. I remember one of the good reviews that I read on this made a really good point of what Jordan Peele is doing is essentially his film is holding up a mirror to you and making you look back at yourself. And
people don't like that.
No, and that's I think a part of why people are very uncomfortable with this film in particular. I mean, Get Out came out a couple years before the Black Lives Matter movement had gotten to the point that it's at, now, or going back now to about two years ago or so, when things like, when the powder keg was lit in this country and the protests were everywhere, and us kind of came out amongst that. And one of the things that I said, and I'm, me, I don't like to eat my words, but I'll eat my words on this for sure. I said that, I'm worried that Jordan Peele is going to become kind of like the trope of like, he's the guy that makes the woke, African-American black friendly horror movies. And that's all he's going to ever be able to do.
And that's what a lot of assholes online are for real saying.
Right. And I said that at the time out of concern, because I was like, he is so much more of a filmmaker than that. And I don't want that to be the only thing he can ever do. Yeah. And then we talked about Candyman, and I know he didn't direct Candyman, but he produced it, and his fingerprints are all over it.
Oh, yeah.
And this, too, though not as highly racially, motivated that the other films are, definitely still has it there. And I mean, what he does and what he's attempting to do through the stuff that he writes and directs and the stuff that he produces is really, I'm going to be honest, it's astounding. And he is, if not the most, he is one of the top 4 or 5 guys that are working in genre cinema today, where they are legitimately trying to make new and interesting and thought-provoking work that a lot of people just can't get on the level with.
Yeah, it seems like the 3 movies last week and this week so far we're on the same boat with the whole thing. Is that this isn't a movie for everybody, and I know the people that that this isn't a movie for, because I was arguing with them earlier today online. So, but the thing is, like, he's using a lot of black people in his movies. But
they're the right actors for the part, so it doesn't matter.
But the thing is, like, this movie could have been, take out the Haywood history of the thing. It could have been anybody in the family, and I hate to say this, but I think that's what's got a bunch of people all fucking bent out of shape, is the fact that they're not white, and white people don't like that. I don't give a shit who you are in the movie if you do a good job. Show me a good story, and I'll be there. I may not like it, but I will definitely appreciate it. But this was a good story with good actors, great special effects.
Yeah. I mean,
and one thing. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say the one thing that this movie, the only thing that I can think it lacks a little bit is the writing could be the writing itself in terms of like dialogue and stuff, not so much the story. That's the one thing I think that could have been a little bit sharper.
Okay.
The cinematography, again, is the standout in this.
That's what I was going to say. A beautiful location.
Unbelievable. And the DP on this is Hoyt van Hoytema, I think is how it's said. And he's worked on, like he did Tenet and Ad Astra.
Yeah.
I believe he did Dunkirk, Spectre, Interstellar, Her, Call Girl, The Fighter.
Yeah, he's used to big spectacle stuff, definitely.
Yeah. So he it looks unbelievable. It looks unbelievable.
I think my favorite shot is the one where he's riding the horse toward the camera, and the thing swoops down and kind of pulls its front up, and all the dust and everything. But it's a wide vista that goes into a tighter shot, and it's just wow. I wish I had gone to the theater. I really do.
Well, I know a few people that saw it in IMAX, and they were like, "You got to see it in IMAX."
Yeah,
like, it's
I would have.
And I also have to say that the digital effects guys that worked on this, it's layered in perfectly. It looks like it's there. You would never know the difference. Like, it looks like it's there.
And also, once it's revealed to be a creature of some kind, you start to see around the opening on the bottom. You start to see the skin of it kind of wrinkle and wave a little bit, kind of like a sea creature. This is basically a sea creature flying through the air.
Yeah, very reminiscent of. I know you'd said a stingray.
Yep.
It's like if you took a stingray and you mated it with a jellyfish. Like this, that's kind of like I think what it would be.
Yeah, and I could see it being as smart as an octopus or a cuttlefish because it can disguise itself.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
there's
For sure.
that
All
too.
right, we got to grade it, man. We've already talked for almost an hour. Talked about it for
Oh
almost an hour.
shit!
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I think it deserves it because I absolutely 100% recommend this movie, and I'm gonna give this an A. I'm like, oh, you know what? How can this possibly live up to the expectations that have been set? And I try not to let that get in the way of watching stuff. But the way it's built and the way it's revealed and it's just so at the right pace for the mood I was in. It just blew me away. And the reveal of what the antagonist is was brilliant. I can't think of too many other movies that have had that kind of reveal where it's like, oh shit, and then the next thing you think is that's a new take, because it is, and it's just great. My opinion may change, but for a sci-fi horror, because it is a sci-fi movie at this point, right? Or is it a horror movie? It's both.
No, I mean, I'd say it's more a sci-fi movie than.
Well, I think until we know where that thing came from, right? We got to just go with horror, right?
Sure. All right.
Because it could be from Earth, and there could be like 10 of these things, and we just don't know. We just don't know because they hunt in secluded areas.
Right.
I want more, and I don't get that from movies a lot. I don't get the feeling of
Me either.
I need more of this story, whether it's with different people or not.
I agree with that 100%. So, I'm giving it a very, very high recommend too, and I'm a little surprised because I was a little tepid on the earlier stuff, and is you know I've softened on Get Out and Us, and obviously I really, really liked Candyman. Again, I know he did not direct it, but his fingerprints are all over that movie. And
that's always been a favorite of yours anyway.
I love the original Candyman too. So yeah, it's we reviewed it last year. Go back and take a listen if you want to hear what we had to say about it. Yeah, man, this is a really, really interesting film. It's it's a special type of film, I think, too, because I was going in expecting to be let down. I'm gonna be honest, because I had seen a lot of bad reviews about it. People being like, "Yo, what the hell's he doing? He doesn't know what he doesn't know what he's doing anymore," and this and that. And I was like, "Oh well, this is probably like gonna be all pomp and no circumstance," where it was the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Despite it being big and boisterous, it also was very quiet, and the minimal stuff in it that tied things together was some of the most interesting, parts of it. The standing up shoe, basically being like maybe that had something to do with the chimpanzee going crazy and some other force overtaking it, or like
right. Yeah, was there
like,
some kind of supernatural disturbance?
Right, or some other government thing? Who knows? There's so many avenues, and you're given enough to feel satisfied. I felt very satisfied with this at the end of it. And it wasn't like I wanted more, but I wasn't like, oh man, I really want more. I was like, oh man, that was fucking great. I hope we can get more from this world because it's something that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Man, I don't. As far as a letter grade, I think. Hang on, let me get a sound effect. I think I need one. I'm gonna give it an A.
Yeah,
it was fucking excellent. The more I thought, when I first finished it, I was like, yeah, it was cool. But then as I sat and I was thinking about it, and then I started doing some searching online, and I started like looking at some of those deep dives of stuff, which if you've seen it and you're curious about some of the like things that we touched on, there's definitely some deeper things in there and some theories, and there's nothing better about a movie than when you start to want to know more. Like that's why a film like Cloverfield I love so much. Not even so much because the film itself is that great. All of the little shit around it.
Okay.
When it was being released was like, oh man, Slusho. What's Slusho? How does that tie into the movie? Oh, what's this? Or like the Blair Witch Project when they put out the website and like, is this real? Is this fake? Let me do some searching, see if this is is there such a thing as a Blair Witch like that? And that's what this I think is. And I would really love to see them open the universe up and then as long as it doesn't get into just like, oh, the government did it or whatever. Like,
right.
I would love to see
I
more.
can't see him doing something that pedestrian.
I would hope not.
But there's a reason the
maybe-
government has done it, which is good.
Right. So, it's going to get a straight A from me, which we talked about last week. Lamb was the closest thing that I think I'd given to an A yet this year. Right now, Nope is the bar, and the bar's been set, and I don't know if anything else is going to be able to touch it.
Yeah.
So, speaking of touching it,
Okay.
our other flick this week, which is not going to get nearly the amount of love that we just gave this, or time, is OffSeason, which is directed by Mickey Keating. We have looked at some of his stuff over the years. We watched Pod a few years ago. He did Carnage Park a couple years ago too, which is one of my favorites. He's a really interesting filmmaker that's done some really interesting stuff. He's also been on Shudder he was the host of what was that Shudder show that he hosted? Shit.
I don't know. I don't watch a lot of the shows on Shudder, but I'm going to
think for a sec. There was maybe it's not here. I don't know. He was one of the he hosted, what the hell was that show?
Dead Talk Live? No. The Core?
The Core. Yeah. That was so he was the host of that. He's an interesting guy. He's made some fun stuff. Pod was excellent. If you've never watched Pod, go back and check that out.
Yeah, that was good.
So OffSeason, technically a 2021 release, but it came on to Shudder early this year. Do I have a trailer for it here? I don't know if I have a trailer for it. I'm sure there is one. I don't know if I have one on this page. It doesn't look like I do. I just have stills. That's fine. No big deal. So, OffSeason, starring Jocelyn Donahue, who is best remembered as the female lead from Ty West's House of the Devil.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Swanberg. I'm a huge Joe Swanberg fan. You guys remember him from, he was in VHS, The Rental, Next. He's been in a bunch of the Ty West stuff. I'm trying to think he was in, what the hell was the one? There's one that Sacrament. He was in The Sacrament. That's not the one, though, because I actually don't really like The Sacrament.
No, I've seen that before.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
It happened in real life, so.
Yeah. But my favorite thing about The Sacrament is the fact that they don't acknowledge that it's essentially just the Jim Jones movie.
That's what pissed me off the most. Yeah. Don't make Jim Jones's life and then call it something else and call him something else. The fuck?
Yeah. Horrible Way to Die. He was in that too, which I also really like.
Okay.
But Joe Swanberg is awesome. He plays the male. I guess the male lead in this. Jeremy Gardner also shows up in this. I would say friend of the show, but I mean he's not. but he's
you could say that about like 99.9% of people.
I know. Well, I feel like although I've never actually met Jeremy, I have talked to him, but like he was in Sadistic Intentions, which played with some film freaks a couple times. He's also, you guys probably best know him as in The Battery. He's one of the guys.
Oh,
from The Battery.
yeah.
He's also in The Leech, which is playing film festivals now, which Woodsman has already played a couple of festivals with it and is playing a couple more festivals coming up. And the director of that, Eric Pennycoff, was also the director of Sadistic Intention, so there's some connections there. Either way, Jeremy Gardner seems like a really great guy, and he gets a part in this and does what he does with it. Richard Brake also shows up, so if you've seen 31, recognize him from that.
A lot of times he's the best part of the movie. That was especially the case in 31.
For sure. He was the only redeeming thing of 31.
He started that movie so strong. The movie was so strong after his talk right to the camera, and then it just shit itself and licked it up.
Yep. And then
not
he came back
not
and tried
happy
to save
with
it.
that one. No,
I'm still pissed about that.
Yeah.
So OffSeason, simple story. You have Marie. She receives a mysterious letter to return to the island where her mother's been buried. It's this desolate island that is basically only open for the summer season for tourists, and then they close it off to the outside world when the tourist season ends. So she gets there because apparently somebody has... I do have a trailer here.
Listen to me. I have something to tell you. Please come at once. Your mother's grave has been vandalized.
This is an emergency. I have to get to the cemetery as soon as possible. Please. She didn't want to come back here. She didn't want to be buried here. There's something wrong with this place.
This island ain't very big. I'll be a real friend to you.
Can we please get out of here?
Yes. Jesus.
What the?
This is the way we came?
There's been one road we've been on the entire time.
Turn around. We gotta get out of here.
No. What is happening right now?
She said that the people on this island made a deal with a demon. George? Are you here? Hello?
What is happening right now? Demons and sea creatures?
You never should have come back here. The place is evil.
Is anybody there? I need help.
Don't be frightened, dear.
Can't let you go, miss.
It's quite beautiful, you know. The island.
Alrighty, so off-season. This is going to get loud again. I can't stop it.
This is not the off-season starring Angus Scrimm and Larry Fessenden.
Nope,
that
just
was
off-season.
Terrible.
So, I am a firm believer that in this day and age, now that we've been past like the first run, like of years ago of people adapting his stories, the best H.P. Lovecraft movies are films that aren't actually based on H.P. Lovecraft stories.
Yeah, I honestly believe that Lovecraft had amazing ideas, but he wasn't a great writer. Like, fleshing it out into a story, not so much. A couple of them, pretty good. But you ever read the beginning of In the Mouth of Madness? I mean, In the Mountains of Madness?
I tried.
Do you want a giant list of shit to take with you to either Arctic Circle? Because it'll give you that. It's way into that. But his ideas and the mythology he created and the idea of cosmic horror, if you will, or dreamlands or whatever kind of other dimensional stuff, that stuff's brilliant. But he was also a racist and kind of a xenophobic asshole, so.
This is true. So with that said, Mickey Keating has read some Lovecraft in his time.
Yeah.
Seems like he's probably a pretty big fan of the Cthulhu mysticism and ideas. And this movie is definitely influenced by that. So with saying that, if it sounds interesting to you and you don't want it ruined for you, then go watch it and come back. But it's not this is not a Lovecraft movie, but like it has got all of those air marks of that. Cthulhu is all over this.
It's a lot of Shadow over Innsmouth with the town and the person from the town that doesn't want to be there. And then it plays into a lot of elder creature beliefs and religions. And it plays a lot in there, but it also has the like that subconscious dream aspect to some of the scenes as well. Yeah. So it plays in all of the areas, and I think it does a pretty decent job of taking the ideas and pushing them together.
Right, yeah. So Maria's brought to the island. They arrive. Richard Brake is basically like, you can't go in. And they're like, why not? And they're like, well, we close the island down and put the bridge up once the tourist season's over. And there's no real explanation why. Like, they're just like, yeah, we shut off to the outside world. Okay.
Well, I mean, when we were down in Wildwood, we were there at the end of tourist season, and all of the shops and everything shut down like the week after Labor Day.
So like Hampton Beach is like that too, like that.
Yeah. So if it's an island, I can see that. You especially if it's like 50 people.
Right. But the idea that they put the bridge up and you can't get there and you can't get out and they use the idea that like the storms get so bad that they put the bridge up so that it doesn't get washed
I think
away
we
or
just have to
whatever.
get past the idea of the bridge, to be honest.
Right.
Because that's just a way for her to not be able to escape on foot. That's really all that is.
Right. And so there's this impending storm coming in, and he's like, listen, the bridge is going to go up tomorrow. First thing, you got to get off the island, otherwise you're stuck. And they're like, okay. So they go down, her and the husband, which is Swanberg's character. They get to the cemetery. I have to say, I loved all the traveling shots, the overhead drone shots.
Yeah.
Going
Really
into
good
this.
stuff.
And this was
Yeah.
filmed down in Florida, and it looks cold for Florida.
Yeah.
The coloring on it is very drab, so it looks much colder than it probably actually was. So they find the cemetery, which is right by the water, and just weird stuff happens right away. They can't find the caretaker. She runs into an old woman that's there. That's just like just kind of there, and then she thinks she hears something in the woods, and then she runs down to the beach, and she thinks she sees the husband. But then, like, she follows him and he disappears, and she goes out into the woods, and then there's all these, like, people in the woods with their eyes are white, and then, like, they're, like, she thinks they're chasing her, and just all of this kind of shit just kind of starts to happen.
Yeah.
She gets back to the beach, she finds the husband, and he's like, I couldn't find the caretaker, and she's all freaked out, so she's like, let's get out of here. So he's like, we should leave like right now. And she's like, we can't just leave. They called me. So they go to the like one restaurant in the town, and it is classic like creepy towny stuff. They go in and like everyone stops and looks at them.
It's the slaughtered lamb all over again.
I mean, every town has a slaughtered lamb.
Yeah, and if you're in the movie Lamb, could be more than one.
They go in and they're like, listen, we're trying to find the caretaker. My mom's grave was destroyed. And they like don't want to help at first, but then they kind of realize who she is.
Right.
And they're like, all right.
That's what matters is who she is, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, okay, well, let's get the information. So that's when then Jeremy Gardner shows up, and he's like, at first he seems like he's hitting on her. And he's like, oh, if you need any help, I live in the house down by the way with the light will be on for you. I can get you off the island. And she's like, yeah, no, thanks. And he's kind of like, no, listen, like.
Yeah, he can't say anything.
Right, because they stop him like 3 different times.
Yeah.
And he's like, just listen, if you need me, this is where I am.
Yeah, if this was Shadow over Innsmouth, he's like the Zadok, the crazy guy that knows everything that's going on, but he's so just like there and he doesn't bother anybody, so they don't do anything about it
until they have to.
Yeah, until he actually starts trying to do something, then he's got their attention. So
they're like, fine, fuck this, we're gonna get out of here. So they try to leave. Her and the husband try to leave, and they're following the road back, but then there's a bunch of trees down on the road, so they can't get by, and they try to drive around it, but then all of a sudden they end up on some other road.
Right, aren't they like surrounded by trees and the road isn't there, but it was there, now it's there, but here's a road. So it's all
exactly.
Yeah,
because she was like, is this the road that we followed? And he was like, fucking, there was only one road. It's like there wasn't other roads, there was only one road. So then they like see people or something, and like they drive off the road and crash, which is what always happens.
Yes.
And then
because you have to get rid of their only means of transportation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So then the husband disappears and she can't find him, and then she starts running, and you start hearing the horn and the bridge is going up. So she runs to try to stop the bridge, but the bridge is now already up, the door's locked, and she's trapped.
Yeah.
And then we enter Silent Hill.
Yes.
Where she's walking around the town and there's nobody to be found, and it's foggy and it's dark and like.
Oh, yeah, 100% Silent Hill. And I was totally okay with that.
Yeah, no, it had a really, really good feel to it. And she tries to go to the flower shop, and then she finds Jeremy Gardner, and we kind of get some info dumps on what's going on. And she tells the husband, she had told the husband the story, and you heard a little bit of it in the trailer about how the townsfolk had made a deal with a demon. And then, is this real? Is it not real? And then you see it briefly in the trailer, and it's a mild spoiler, but I've already put the spoiler warning out there. So as everything kind of starts to come to a head in this, she ends up on the shore of the beach, and there's this great fucking shot where there's like all the people with the white eyes like standing on the beach, and she's over in front of the water, and there's lightning off in the distance. But when we see the lightning going off, we get to catch the silhouette of this giant sea monster thing, which is the Cthulhu reference, because that's all I could think about when I was seeing it. Right?
Oh, see, I just went with Dagon since it was in the water, but
yeah.
No, that makes sense too.
The Dagon and Cthulhu are the same thing to me, dude. I'm sorry,
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know enough about it.
No, they're. I get that. Cthulhu's in the South Pacific, though.
Oh, okay, sure. This is Florida. Is that not the same?
No, that's the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico.
So there's a giant silhouette of a Mickey Mouse in the background.
Yes.
And it's like this hulking, like hundreds of feet tall, like thing, and like there's this moment of like, oh shit, this is all real and this is all big, and I'm pretty impressed with the way you tied this all together. So
yeah,
can't get deep on this one.
I mean,
there's nothing to really dig into, but
that's what Lovecraft stories are at their core. The basic Lovecraft story is, here's this unbelievable thing. Oh yeah, bullshit. I'm gonna go there. Yeah, now everybody's telling me that unbelievable thing is real. Fuck you. No, it's not. Now I'm crazy because I saw the unbelievable thing and I can't comprehend it. It's
yeah.
basically what this turned out to be. But there's the whole plot with the mother and the will being changed and the fact that she didn't want to go back there, and that's played up a lot, which I enjoyed, because then you have a reason. You have a reason for her to go, because if the island is going to close, like, why bother? Just go later.
Right.
But she's drawn to the island inexplicably in the beginning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a little more to it. It's not as deep as some of the other ones we covered in the last couple of weeks, but as I was watching this, I'm like, it's pretty slow, but it's doing a lot of good stuff. I like this.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's. That's not it. All right, Chris. Do you recommend What's Your Great for off-season?
Yeah, I'm going to recommend it. I mean, it's on Shudder, so it wouldn't cost you anything to rent it if you have Shudder. So there you go.
But if you don't have Shudder,
get around to it at some point, maybe. But I'm going to give it a B+. I really enjoyed it. I like when people do Lovecraft remixes. They, like you said, they do seem to work better overall. I think mostly because people that want to do strict Lovecraft translations don't understand it, or they try to change it enough to make it their own thing. They don't keep it the original thing. You know, like, I would be afraid that if they did Shadow over Innsmouth, you'd have like a vulture capitalist company coming in trying to buy Innsmouth, and that's how it happens. And it's like, just fucking have the guy be related to the fish people. Can we just do that, please? And this is what it was. It's a small, family-driven, plot line. And it doesn't affect anyone else. And that's what a lot of his stories are. And I thought it stayed to the core idea of the stories pretty well. So B+ and recommend.
Yeah, I'm gonna recommend it too. I'm not over the moon about it. It's solid. It's solid. As far as Mickey Keating's work, it's not his best. I still think Carnage Park is probably his best film.
I could see that.
But it's solid. It's solid for sure. It's not something I think you necessarily need to search out. If you're into the Lovecraft stuff or Lovecraft, inspired stuff, then yeah, definitely check it out. Make a point to see it. But overall, I don't think it's necessarily I don't think this would make the end of the year top 10 lists. But
no, for me, it'd be pretty high up if it was Lovecraft inspired stuff. It would be on the list
for sure. This is better than that Cthulhu movie we watched.
Yeah. I will say, though, the more you've read of his stuff, the more you get out of that, though, because there are a lot of, reference things to it, right. But that's really all it is. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that'd be pretty low on my list, I think.
So
because it's not even about Cthulhu, it's about fucking Innsmouth. I mean, come on.
So
sorry, go ahead.
The grade, B-. Yeah,
Okay.
B- I think is fair. I enjoyed it. There were some things that I was like, like the reveal at the end with the monster in the water. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love the Silent Hill feel of her like walking through the town trying to find somebody, and I thought that was cool. And then when Jeremy Gardner gets seaweeded, I thought that was pretty dope too. Good,
Shit.
Not great. What's the matter with you?
Oh, fuck. Sorry.
It's all right. What's going on?
I had a video pop up at full volume, and I couldn't get out of it. And then I thought I had closed the window to the show, and I'm like, how the fuck would I have done that if I'm still talking to him? I'm having a day. I'm having a day.
Well, the good news is we've reached the Reverend Scott part of the show.
Okay.
So if you disappear, you're only letting him down.
Wouldn't be the first time. No, but
you got a cool intro last week. Stop being greedy.
oh. What?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. With Reverend Scott. I don't know what that was.
Hey there, Bill and Chris. This is Reverend Scott. And today I have a segment for you that'll have you saying,
That's not how it works.
I suppose I can preface this segment with the fact that I made this without hearing what was released last week, so I have a valid excuse for not knowing what movies you reviewed.
Yes. Whatever. This is gonna suck.
Well, it's all your fault. Why'd you even do this to me?
Well, I'm just trying to create mystery for the audience.
Actually, I lied. I know what movies you reviewed, but I chose not to talk about them.
You didn't care about the movie, so
what? Well, that means I get to talk about what I want to talk about, and what I want to talk about is what Joe talked about, Final Destination 2. You and I both know I can't hide my opinion about this movie. I fucking love it. Is it Citizen Kane, Godfather 2, or The Shawshank Redemption? Yes it is. And I'm going to tell you why. But I need to get one minor gripe out of the way about Final Destination 2 first, is that the writers kill off Alex, the main character from Part 1, off camera in a newspaper article by him getting hit in the head with a falling brick. I'm sorry, but that's just lame as fuck.
Bastards.
But other than that, fucking amazing. First of all, Part 1 had the classic airplane scene. Of course, this was pre-9/11, so you could still do that kind of thing. People flying out of the plane, fire, chaos, it was glorious. Well, they knew Part 2 had to top that somehow, so they took it to the streets.
Literally.
A ridiculous multi-car pileup with everything from cops taking an entire log to the face, a man smashed by his own motorcycle, an SUV flipping out of control, to a man trapped in a flaming Camaro as a giant semi smashes him into oblivion. And if you've never watched this scene with the director commentary, you're doing yourself a disservice. They refer to the actors in this scene as actually being in the scene for real and doing their own stunts. And they specifically talk about the blonde girl whose head is sticking out of the sunroof of the flipping SUV and how her sacrifice made for an amazing sequence. And it's just too bad she'll never get to see it. They talk about that girlfriend in Part 1 also and how she got hit by that bus. They watched the audience reactions and said to themselves,
I want more and I want it now.
Yeah.
That's literally what they wanted every reaction to a death in Part 2 to be like. So that's why you get to see them kill a 15-year-old boy with a real 400-pound pane of glass.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, they really dropped a real 400-pound pane of glass onto a blood and meat-filled dummy. Twice. They had to do it twice because the first time the legs stayed standing after the impact.
And that was really frustrating.
Then they talked about Evan, the guy who won the lottery. Up in his apartment, they tease so many different deaths that don't quite pan out. And the director mentions that they knew this movie was going to be big with the dating crowd, and they didn't want anyone missing out on any of the gore. So what they did was, when Evan used the fire escape to literally escape a fire in his apartment, he falls on his back, and the ladder drops suddenly and stops just centimeters from his face. Well, that was on purpose to give the squeamish audience members a chance to cover their eyes for the impact that doesn't happen. Then they give it just enough time that right when everyone's probably uncovering their face with their hands, the ladder drops right through Evan's eye. They were really proud of themselves for that. Kinda makes you wonder.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
But what's great about all this gore is that a majority of it is practical effects with a mix of some CGI. Like Rory, for instance, who, right after asking the main character Kimberly to go and erase all the porn off his computer not to make his mom upset if he was to die, he immediately gets hit with a barbed wire fence. And they filmed him practically falling apart, literally limb from limb, then spruced it up with some blood and guts on the computer later. On top of the deaths and the return of Tony Todd, this sequel did something else very cool to me. It established new rules. Everyone involved in the premonition of the highway pileup had been in direct contact with one of the members of the main cast of Part 1. And now Death was picking them off in reverse order. Kind of like cleaning up the loose ends. Because most of these people had a near-death experience and saved by a person that wasn't supposed to be alive in that airplane crash. So now, in theory, these people should have already been killed too. And now they've kind of double-cheated Death with the premonition of this highway pileup. On top of that, at one point Eugene tries to shoot himself in the head with the cop's revolver, only to have all 6 rounds be duds, proving that if it's not your turn, Death ain't gonna let you die, which I heard was gonna be explored more with some people doing things like jumping off buildings and robbing banks and such, knowing that they were basically unkillable, but they didn't have time. The final rule established was how new life could allow you to cheat death, so to speak, which they eventually proved to be true, but not quite in the way that they expected. Oh, and just to top it all off, they toss in a barbecue explosion at the end of the movie and a son's arm landing on his own mother's dinner plate, which just further shows that the tone of Part 2 is a bit more black comedy than the serious one of the first part. And I get that might not be Bill's cup of tea, but it sure was mine.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. And it's not I like weird, but like, this is not my type of weird.
I could see that.
So at the end of the day, Final Destination 2 is just fun as hell to watch, non-stop entertaining and shocking, but further builds and expands on an already refreshing and original concept. Because of those reasons and the nostalgia, right place and time in my life when I saw it, I have to give Final Destination 2 an A+. What did you expect?
I don't know.
So I've rambled on long enough this week, but maybe if you're lucky, I'll keep on Joe's heels next week and cover Final Destination 3. But until then, peace and love, guys. Outside the cinema.
It doesn't do anything new. The only thing it might do new is it gives us 2 shitty characters as main characters. Everybody's a piece of shit in this. No one really has the moral high ground in any of this.
Well, there you have it, Chris.
That sounds about right.
All right, thank you guys for hanging out with us this week. Let us know what you thought about this week's movies on our Facebook group. Go to Facebook. Go to groups. Type in Outside the Cinema. Boom. You're there.
Yeah.
Follow Chris and I on Instagram at OTCBell at Cthulhu. Yeah. Also, I have a Vero account, also OTCBell.
I'm trying to do that, but they're not sending me the text to put the code in.
Well, you'll get it eventually. Just keep trying, dude.
Jesus.
Keep trying.
Yeah.
Next week on the show, I think we have a couple of Patreon movies we'll get back into. I'll look. We'll figure it out. Don't worry. The boys will take care of you.
Don't worry.
Everyone have a good week. We'll talk to you soon. I'm going to let it go for an extra few seconds because I forgot to do the silence at the beginning.